Come to order. Today's meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is called to order on August 28th, 2024. Welcome, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Agendas of today's meeting are on the wall at the entrance to council chambers. Please remember to turn off your cell phones. The Municipal Code Enforcement Board consists of 7 members who are appointed by the City Council. We serve voluntarily. It is this board's intention to promote, protect, and improve the health and safety and welfare of the citizens of Clearwater by providing this equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing certain city codes. The board considers new business items in 2 parts, first the violation and then affirmative relief. Formal rules of evidence do not apply. Each side is limited to 15 minutes. The board may grant additional time. All proceeds will be conducted in a calm, civil manner. Individuals who conduct themselves otherwise will be asked to leave. If necessary, they will be escorted from the chamber. Now I ask all who plan to speak, please rise and be sworn in by our clerk.
Please swear affirm to tell the truth, right, your entire testimony.
Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of last month's meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion approved. Is there any citizens here to be heard on items not on today's agenda? If so, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Board. Let me take a minute to introduce you to Kevin Maddox. He's our newest code inspector, so you'll be seeing him around.
Welcome aboard, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Nice to meet you.
Kevin, you don't take us all out to lunch tomorrow.
Not a problem. I've got a card.
Ma'am, if you'll come forward, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Vicky Haas, 30350 Oak Cove Drive, Clearwater. Okay, I was here a few months ago, and I requested a list of the people who have filed violations against me.
Yes.
I have not gotten that yet.
You haven't got that yet?
No.
Did you reach out to the code board office?
I
for-
believe that you said that you were going to take care of that.
Sorry. Yes, so I tried calling 2, 3, 4 times, and it immediately went to like a busy signal, or it just went dead. I was never able to call out, and it started ringing to the phone number that you left me the last time. I do have the document from the Code Compliance Department that
Okay.
shows how that violation was
No,
originally
all of them,
reported.
not just one.
Oh, I
All-
thought it was
all
just
of
the
them.
last one. So I do have that. Do you have an email address that I can send it to you?
I can get that.
Okay, I'll get that from
Want
you.
me to give it to you now?
Sure. And then I'll get that to her, so.
Thank you.
Okay, got it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on items that are not on today's agenda? Okay, we will get started with our new business items. And our first one is 4.1 on our agenda, continued from July 24th, 2024, case 87-24. Find respondents Tower 4 on Bay LLC at 534 Bay Avenue in violation of code for exterior surfaces, and issue an order with compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No? Inspector Caspin, you have the floor. Oh.
You left?
There he is.
Oh,
You're up, Daniel.
is this I'm sorry, Rebecca, is this the one that was taken off like last minute today?
Is it?
Oh, there's
7-2 was taken off.
534 Bay has been continued.
continue. I'm sorry.
Which one? Is it this one?
This was 4.1 tower.
4.1, this has been continued until
Yes.
next month? I'm sorry.
That just came in. last
Okay.
night.
Oh, my apologies.
All right, on to our next case, which is 4.2 on our agenda, case number 97-24, fine respondents Bird J. Smith Estate at 2080 Douglas Avenue in violation of code for fences and walls and exterior surfaces, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No? Inspector Dixon, you have the floor.
Afternoon, Board. Inspector Gregory Dixon, Code Compliance Inspector. This is case 97-24 for 2080 Douglas Avenue. There are 2 violations at this property for exterior surfaces and fence maintenance. Notice of violations was sent out towards the beginning of the year and posted in May. Here's the property on the day the notice was created. Mold, peeling paint, rotten wood. There is a fence that is around the backyard that is not much of a fence anymore. It's falling down in places, leaning, missing boards.
Have you talked to the owners or the
Nope.
renters?
No, they haven't contacted me.
Nobody's friendly?
I don't know what their deal is. They haven't contacted me, though.
Okay.
And here's the property currently. It's basically in the same condition as when the notices went out.
And they didn't contact the city or nothing? Or
No.
Over it? Hmm.
I guess recommendation.
So compliance will be met for the exterior surfaces by replacing any defective structural or decorative elements of any building wall to ensure all exterior surfaces are free of mildew, rust, loose paint, peeling, and faded and peeling paint. Compliance will be met for the fence by removing all fencing or repair the fence to comply with city code, i.e. maintain the fence in a vertical position, replace rotten or missing boards, secure all support posts to the ground, and secure all fence faces. For case 97-24, for the 2 violations of exterior surface and fence maintenance, I'm requesting compliance on or before October 1st, or a fine of $150 per day per violation.
Board, do you have any questions for Inspector Dixon?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
In a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
I move to enter order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before October 1st, 2024. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation. For each day each violation continues to exist, if fine fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Passes. Next case on our agenda is 4.3, case number 98-24. Fine respondents Aaron Mack, Katrina Mack, Andrew Mack, and Idella Mack at 1625 North Washington Avenue in violation of code for door and window openings, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case?
Well,
No?
this property has come into compliance and we're requesting a declaration of violation.
Oh,
for this
okay.
property.
All right, can we get one of those, someone?
I move find it was a declaration of violence completed prior to meeting. Is that what the one we're using?
Yeah.
Yep.
Move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in this affidavit. In this case, the violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed if the respondent repeats the violation. The board may order a fine of up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, 4.4 is continued till September. 4.5 is continued until September. 4.6 has been withdrawn. 4.7 on our agenda, case number 102-24, fine respondents Emmanuel Kotakis and Dmitry Revliv Trust Agreement at 1141 Court Street in violation of code for prohibited signs, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? No? Inspector Burkert, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. Stephen Burkert, Sign Inspector for the City of Clearwater. I'm going to present 4 cases today. All of them are a declaration of violations. So I don't do presentations unless you would have questions for that and then ask for more details. The first case is 102-24. That's at 1141 Court Street. It's a sign violation. That violation has been resolved and it's in compliance, but I'm asking for a declaration of violation.
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine up to $500 for each day each violation continues to exist.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Declaration carries. All right, the next one is 4.8, which is case 103-24, find respondents 1822 Drew LLC at 1822 Drew Street in violation of code for temporary signage, and issue an order with compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? No, Inspector Burkhardt.
Stephen Burkhardt, sign inspector for the City of Clearwater. This case is 103-24 at 822 Drew Street. It's a sign violation. The case has been resolved. It's in compliance, but I'm asking the board for declaration of violation.
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Declaration carries. 4.9 on our agenda, case 104-24, find respondents 411 ES LLC at 411 East Shore Drive in violation of code for prohibited signs, and issue an order of compliance and deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? No. Inspector Burkhardt.
Stephen Burkhardt, sign inspector. This is case 104-24 at 411 East Shore Drive. It's also a violation regarding temporary sign code, and that case has been resolved. It's in compliance. I'm asking the board for a declaration of violation.
I move to find the respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may order a fine of up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Declaration carries. Next is 4.10 on our agenda, case number 105-24. Find respondents SCI Pelican Walk LLC at 490 Poinsettia Avenue in violation of code for prohibited signs, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? Inspector Burkhardt, you have the floor.
Stephen Burkhardt, sign inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case 105-24 at 490 Poinsettia Avenue. It's a violation regarding temporary signage that has been resolved. Case is in compliance, and I'm asking the board for a declaration of violation.
I move to find that respondent was in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case. The violation was corrected prior to today's hearing, and to enter an order that no fine be imposed. If the respondent repeats the violation, the board may enter a fine up to $500 for each day the violation continues to exist.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Declaration passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Thank you. We have no old business items, so other board action is to accept the affidavits of compliance as listed, and I'm just going to list all these as one. 5.1.1, 5.1.2, 5.1.3, 5.1.4, 5.1.5, 5.1.6, 5.1.7. Can I get
I move
a,
to accept the affidavit of compliance as listed.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Motion passes. And 6.2 on our agenda has been withdrawn. 6.3 on our agenda is continued from June 26th and also continued from July 24th. Oh, I'm sorry, and it is also continued until September 25th. I missed that one. So 6.4 has been withdrawn. 6.5 is case number 32-24. Accept the affidavit of noncompliance for respondents Vicky A. Haas at 3035 Oak Cove Drive for exterior surfaces. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No. Inspector Brown? Oh. All right, would you like to speak on your case, ma'am? If you can, state your name and your address again for the record,
Vicky Haas,
please.
3035 Oak Cove Drive, Clearwater.
Thank
Okay, last time we were here, I knew I wouldn't be finished by, you know, the time, and it was a lot of work, and it's very expensive. I've purchased some of the materials, I've done some work, but I'm hoping that maybe the city has some kind of like a grant program or for low-income loans, veterans groups that can, you know, help with the financing of all the materials I will need. Is there anything like that?
I
would
wouldn't-
love to, you know, I would love to go ahead and get the
Yeah.
stuff sealed up. That's great, but it's very expensive.
Not something I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Not programs I'm aware of.
There's no loans or
It's not
grants
something
or.
we do.
Yeah, I
It's
wouldn't-
not- we don't, you're asking somebody who
Yeah.
doesn't have the answers.
We wouldn't have those answers for you as far as
Well, I
any
mean,
kind of programs. that
I
they have.
understand, you know, you want to make all the houses look beautiful, but there has to be a way to help
Oh, yeah, and-
the citizens get there as well.
And that's why we're here to work with you last thing we want to do is fine you.
Okay.
You know, we want you to get get your house back in order the way it should be and the way you like it. So, but as far as any programs or stuff, you would have to, I don't know, maybe reach out to the city. I wouldn't even know who.
If you're talking about
We
veterans
have a-
administrations, you might go to VFW or somebody like that,
Yeah.
but we don't, I certainly don't know who to go to.
So you've never heard of anybody getting help or
We
assistance in
don't
improving?
recommend, we don't have any like resources to, names and stuff to recommend to you guys
Okay.
for that, you know.
But
But there are, I'm sure there are, you know, community groups that you could reach out to, like the, you know, some churches maybe around St. Vincent de Paul, possibly, other places like that, you know.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
We don't have the answers to that, but what we're concerned about is that you're making a good faith effort and you're working with a code enforcement officer to get this resolved. And, you know, if you're running into issues, just keep the code enforcement officer
Well, it's just
aware of all this.
finances.
Pardon me?
Finances, that buy the materials.
And
That's-
we can all understand finances, and we'll work with you as much as we can. Our job here is not to cause you any more problems than you already have. So if you work with a code enforcement officer, that's the key.
Could we get an idea of, like, the scope of the project and what needed to be done and what has been done? Or, I know we're dealing with an affidavit of non-compliance here, but
I think in our in the initial presentation, we probably did see pictures of the place. I can't remember what it looks like, you know, and what she said she's
asking
got
for a
there.
refresh.
Can we hear from
Okay.
Inspector Brown
Well,
and give us an update on what's going on?
The other issue is, according to the last meeting that we had on this, also according to the Florida statute from 2023 that it's Title 9, County Organizations, Intergovernment. It's 162.21. It covers code enforcement. According to our last meeting, Ms. Brown said she was the one that initiated this. And according to the statute, it can't be initiated by a code enforcement officer. It has to come from a citizen to complain.
Rebecca, code manager, there's two ways for a case to come before you or to be identified that the code board pursues, and that is one through a citizen complaint where you do have to have a name and an address associated with that, cannot be anonymous. The other is through self-identification. by the inspector as they're working their zone. So an inspector can initiate a case.
And the statute says the code board cannot initiate a case. So if the code board became, for example, if someone came up during the citizens to be heard section and said, hey, there's a property on such and such where you guys, and then the code board directed the staff to go and initiate a case, that would be a violation of the statute. But the code officers are certainly allowed to initiate cases on their own. I've never heard of not being allowed to do that.
So can I request additional time to find the funding I need to finish my,
How much funding are we talking about?
I don't know. I don't know where to get the funds.
Have you contacted a contractor?
No, well,
Well, at least you
I've
could
got
get-
some paint
you could-
numbers that, I mean, if you look at what's wrong with the paint, there was a vine that went up the side of, and I shouldn't have to paint my whole house because a vine was ripped down.
Well, I think that,
It's just, it's not that hard, but the other stuff, it's all the materials, it's, you know, it's a lot of materials that I
Well,
have.
that would help us know an estimate of what we're talking
Of
about.
everything?
Yeah.
I can get that for
And
you. I don't have it in my
maybe,
head
Em, I have to
today.
emphasize again, if you work with a code enforcement officer, we rely on them to give us the information. And if you can keep her apprised of what's going on and she's comfortable, they report to us and we can extend it whatever's needed. We're not here to make your
Okay,
life
well,
miserable.
that's what I'm requesting.
Then
I
talk
don't
to her.
I don't have an idea because of, if I had the money, then I could work out how many days it would take me to get it done. But
let me ask a question.
getting the money for the materials is the main problem in getting it done.
Right. So, based on your understanding of what needed to be done, how much have you been able to accomplish, say, percentage-wise? I mean,
I probably have enough, maybe 15%, I don't know.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't have I didn't go out and measure or anything.
Right.
So I
Your
got
base-
the front portion done and
right.
working on the sides.
That's
Did
why
you
I'm
talk
asking.
with the enforcement officer? You made a comment about having to paint the whole house. Are they requiring you to paint the whole house or just the damaged
That's
part?
what
or-
the
or
first day I
is
came
that
here, I was
something you-
completely confused about as to
Okay.
even what I needed to do
Let me,
and based on the
Why
picture.
don't-
right, let me suggest to
you-
you that if you talk with the code enforcement officer, ask her, you know, discuss it with her, she can help you
You have an
understand.
affidavit of noncompliance before
Okay.
you have the code enforcement officer in front of you, which usually tells you that nothing's being done or accomplished. Maybe you want to hear from her. That's why she brought the affidavit of noncompliance.
Can I say something really quick, just as a clarifying for procedural purposes? Rebecca, code manager for the city of Clearwater. When this case has already been before you, has been addressed, and this is the affidavit, you've already found it in violation. As you've seen from some of these other cases that do show multiple continuances, those are usually those occur because of communications that are happening and ongoing as a case goes through its process, that the citizen and property owner and the code inspector are having a dialogue and trying to work out compliance without having to come to the board. And so those are kind of evident of that continued discussion. This case went through the process, didn't get that communication, dialogue, or compliance, was heard by you guys, was found in violation, was given time to compliance. We do allow a stretch of that if there's communication or progress that happens in between that compliance deadline, to extend that out if necessary. If we don't see any progress, it then comes back here for you to file that, for us to file the affidavit of noncompliance because we're not getting anywhere. So procedurally, that's how it works. We do give lots of opportunity to work with the citizen, time to compliance.
This is the second time I've come and I'm trying to communicate.
Could we hear from Inspector Brown? Can we
Yes.
get her to come up, please?
Inspector Brown, would you come up?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are we? Shelby Brown, City of Clearwater Code Compliance. Would you like to see any pictures or just kind of get an update on what communications we've had or not
That would
had?
help,
Yes,
yeah.
please.
Okay, so let me just get to kind of a picture to remind y'all of where we were at. Let's do from current slide. we were here months ago, all right? We had a lot of exterior surface issues at the property. I'm gonna kind of blast through some pictures here for us. Uh-oh. All right. So the majority of the property had damaged soffit, fascia, paint was peeling, some pretty significant problems, okay, that needed to be addressed. So I'm just gonna try to kind of keep going here so you can see the house is covered by a lot of vegetation too. Sometimes it's a little hard to get a look at from the front. I've been to the property several times. You did find it in violation. I'm trying to kind of get to our updated pictures. I do want to say, I've worked with Ms. Haas for a long time because we've had to keep coming here to the code board to have things done at this property. And ma'am, I always try to be respectful with you, and I leave you notes at your property and say, please call me so that we can do something about what we've got here. Sorry, this is just going a little slow. I wanted to show you my most recent, anyway, all right. Flash forward, the hearing's coming for today's noncompliance. I wrote up a door hanger, and here it is. Hi, if you would like us to come and get new photos of any repairs you may have made to the exterior surfaces, call me. Otherwise, what we see doesn't appear to have been corrected. You are not required to attend the hearing, but you may if you'd like. And then I posted that at the property. And then this is what it looked, you know, it's covered again, but that's a different matter. And I will testify under oath that, you know, from the sidewalk, I can see that things haven't been taken care of. It's a really hard property to show with pictures from the street. When we're inside the property, then I can show more, but I'm not doing that without her invitation, unless we're there for a cleanup. All right,
Are you getting communications back and forth? You're saying you're not getting communications back and
No,
forth?
sir,
Okay.
no.
That's fine with me.
Okay? And we want to give her whatever it is that she wants, and we've been very specific. So we tried to bring this earlier in the year. She asked for continuance because her attorney needed to change, and then we did do a continuance, and then we brought it in April, and here we are in August. So, and as far as programs go to help with painting, there are some programs maybe out there, but they're going to be looking for properties that do not have code violations necessarily or fines accruing for other work that the city's done at the property. And we've had multiple abatements at that property. So it'll be hard for us to recommend that, but if there was something out there, sure, we want her to get help. So that's what I have to say.
It has been ongoing, and we have been giving continuance.
I know.
Yes.
And I'm sorry that I know things cost something, but I want to say we're all under oath here, and I want that to be clear. We're trying to do our very best to communicate with this property owner. Any other questions for me?
No, I don't.
Nope.
Board, do you have any
Okay.
questions? Ms. Haas, will you come back?
Mr. Chair, I will say, I just being in City Hall, I am aware of some grant programs that the city has through our economic development team and our affordable housing division. There is I think a facade improvement grant specifically that they've been advertising, but I don't have any involvement with that, and neither does the code enforcement staff. It's a totally different division of the city, and I don't know what the eligibility of the program is or any of that. I couldn't give you any detail to it, but I could suggest that she could go and speak with it's the Economic Development Department and the Affordable Housing Division, and it's called a Facade Improvement Grant. I've seen some of the flyers for it at City Hall. So we always encourage people to look for that stuff. I mean, I understand, finances can be tough, but code enforcement, the only thing we can really do is try to put out reasonable timelines for people, taking those things into consideration. So,
Ms. Haas, you said you've done some improvements.
Yeah. Can I ask
Yes,
you?
go ahead.
You said the economic division of what?
it's the Economic Development Department, and the Affordable Housing Division is the staff that administers that, and it's a CDBG money that we get from the federal government, and they give grants out. One of them I know is
I
a
appreciate
facade
that.
improvement grant. And like I said, I don't know what the eligibility is. I think it's income based. But other than that, I don't know much more.
Thank you.
Ms. Hoss, did you bring any pictures of what you have got done so far
I
at the
didn't.
house? You didn't think
I
to take
didn't.
any pictures to show
I
us?
didn't know I needed to bring
Well,
pictures.
you have to,
Well, according to what she showed, she sounded like she came and took pictures. So you would have seen what was developed, but
well, she could only take pictures from the street because you
Okay.
hadn't invited her onto the property. That's why she said she didn't want to violate your,
okay.
by coming onto the property
But yes,
uninvited.
there have been improvements made. No,
I wish
I'm
you
not
would have brought those
finished.
pictures today.
I know.
I really do.
Better
That's,
yet, I
in
wish you would talk
hindsight,
to
that's great.
Inspector Brown more often. I wish you would talk to Inspector Brown. She's our key, she's a key person to us.
I didn't get this until last week, so I mean, we were coming
Well,
in front of you in less than a week, and I was going, okay, I
It's
can.
incumbent
Well,
upon
you were here a couple months ago.
Right. I
You
You
need
had
to-
time.
Well, I didn't
Talk to
realize
her.
how much it would cost at that time.
I mean,
until
to talk
started buying
to Ms.
stuff.
Brown, you've had time. You could have called her, you could have wrote her.
That I couldn't afford it?
Yeah,
She wouldn't
any
have-
communication.
Okay, I would not have expected her to care to, if I couldn't afford it.
We're,
I
we're
mean,
not
that
here
doesn't-
to, here to help, so please
Okay.
talk to her.
Okay. Well, that's, I mean,
I think we
I
ought to
would
move along
love
with
to get
this.
all the sod or facade, whatever.
I mean, in fact, it
Whatever
would
you
take
call
3
it.
months if she goes.
And
I would,
soffit.
I'd love to get all that replaced and painted and make
Well,
it
no,
look
it doesn't.
pretty.
It just gives
That
you
would,
3
that
months
would be
to
nice for me
build.
too.
We'll try to go through the programs
But
that
I'm
you can
going to-
find
I will
through
do
the
that.
city and maybe through the county and through the state. And hopefully that,
I would,
we are gonna though, go ahead and accept this affidavit of noncompliance. And when you
Well-
start getting stuff
one
done,
question. When we did it last time, as long as I was making improvements, you guys would be okay. And I've been making improvements, just not as fast as I'd like.
well,
That's what,
there's a process that steps that this has to go through.
Okay.
And this is like the last step that this has to go through.
well,
And we
I'm
can- you-
complying along the way. I'm not complying.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
working on the house.
you say that, but can you show me pictures that you are?
I can, but I don't have them with me. I didn't
We're
know
going
I had
around
to bring
in circles.
But
pictures.
that's what we need to see.
I mean, I'm under oath, I am there have been improvements.
Yeah.
And I'm not doubting
And you
you.
need to
Stuff
work,
under
you need
the
to work
roof.
with your code
Yeah,
compliance agent, Brown.
That's what we're
I
just
have a-
telling you, is just to work with her. And you can always come back to these fines and ask for a lien reduction, and we can work, we can work with that, But this is just the next step in the process that we have to do.
And we'll do everything we can to help, but you have to work with the code enforcement officer.
I mean, I would have, I would call her 10 minutes before this meeting started and say, hey, I'm shooting you pictures of what I've done, that you can, 10 minutes before the meeting started. It wouldn't matter, as long as I got to show her the pictures of me doing work on this, that would have been something for us to see. But, just work with the inspector, contact some of those outside agencies, and hopefully you can get all this taken care of, okay? Thank you. All right, can I get a affidavit, please?
Yeah, I move to accept the affidavit of noncompliance and issue an order that imposes fines and states if fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now on to 6.6 is continued to September 25th. 6.7 is also continued to September 25th. Yes.
Could I address the board on 6.7?
It's not before you.
Yeah, it's not before us today, sir. It's been continued, so we can't hear anything about it until we,
If that was the case, then I would have spoken to you under items of the public at the beginning of the meeting.
It's passed.
It's on the agenda,
It's on the, it's continued, it's not on the agenda.
I'm sorry, I see it on the printed.
And it says continued, that means the city has continued it and it's not before the board.
So we can't
That's
hear
a,
anything.
that's a
about it.
city decision, that's not this board's decision.
We can't hear anything about it, sir.
When we have communication with the other side and we're both in agreement that a matter should be postponed, we typically reach out to the clerk and we ask to postpone it. One of the issues in hearing evidence or talking about an item when both parties have agreed to continue it is that you're essentially hearing what would be considered ex parte evidence because one of the parties is not present. Whatever evidence or discussion that he would present to you would be, the other side would not be here to be able to rebut or give their side of the story. And so that presents a due process issue that we try to avoid those kinds of things. I would just ask if he has a concern that he could speak to us directly off the record, and then we'll try to accommodate that concern. But if he were to present evidence on an item where we've agreed with the other side to postpone it, it's going to create an issue with that case.
When you said speak to us, you mean speak to you?
Myself or Rebecca would be happy to speak
Okay.
with him and hear
Right.
his
Not
concern
us.
and try to, and then present to the board next month or
That's
whenever
an
this
option,
comes
Mr.
back.
Johnson.
Well, again, if I'd known this in advance, I would have addressed the board as a member of the public to speak about the process that was used here. For instance, on this case,
So we're not
We can't hear
going
anything
over
about
this
it.
case.
You
You don't
can't,
have
Mr.
that-
Johnson, I'm sorry.
your minutes, when they were approved, did not accurately reflect the discussions of the board. And my question is, how
Again,
does,
this is not
how does
before you.
that,
We're not, sir, we're not listening. We can't listen to you. Didn't you just hear what he said?
well,
Sorry, but you missed an opportunity. We can't do anything about it.
it was on the agenda, sir.
It is not before the board to discuss
I
at this point.
understand that.
Then that's the end of it. There's nothing further the board can do. If you wanted, the city has said to talk to them.
Okay. Nuisance abatement.
Okay, on to nuisance abatement liens filings, 7.1 on our agenda, case number 108-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Valerie and Christopher Patakis at 407 South Hillcrest Avenue for lot clearing and issue an order with a compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if the compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No? Inspector Stevens, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Board. John Stevens, Co-Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is in reference case number 108-24 regarding 407 South Hillcrest Avenue here in the city. This is for a nuisance abatement. We have one violation here of Code Section 3-1503B7 for overgrowth and 3-1503B8 for unmaintained right-of-way. So again, overgrowth, but it's regarding the curb line, the right-of-way. This is the date the violation was posted and mailed, July 22nd, with a compliance date of July 31st of this year. We received the green card back on August the 6th, and that's the actual picture of my posting on the day of the initial violation. This is what the property looked like on the 22nd, and as you can see, it was quite overgrown there. It's kind of hard to see, but over here in this part of the picture, if you see a little gray area, it's so overgrown that there's actually like a pallet of center blocks sitting out there. There's 2 of them, and it's grown up high enough you can't really even see the center blocks that are sitting out there. And this was on the 22nd as well. You can see how it's encroaching through the right-of-way, growing over into what you'd call the stormwater gutter and across the sidewalk.
Is that sidewalk go all the way through?
It curves there a little bit and
I
then
mean, but it
ends
still
right
goes
there.
through.
It ends right there at the roadway, basically,
okay.
so.
Oh, all right,
but
I see
yes,
now. I
It's
see how
growing
it
across
curves
it
around.
and then, like I said, growing down here into the guttering.
Oh, wow, that's growing on.
This was on August 1st, so after the compliance date, you can see there's no change. And then this was today. Again, no change out there on the property.
Parking lots.
I've had no contact with the owner of the property. I mean, they've signed the green card and whatnot, but I have not had any phone calls, emails, any correspondence with them whatsoever. So compliance can be met for lot clearing by obviously clearing all the overgrowth to include the growth that's encroaching on the city's right-of-way, such as the guttering and the sidewalk. And then we are requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
John, let me ask you a question. On this city's right-of-way, wouldn't they be responsible for cutting that?
No, property owners are still responsible all the way up to the street, so even if we install a curb guttering, sidewalk. They have to maintain at least the grass and the property is growing there. We
Up to the
maintain the
street.
sidewalk and all that stuff, but they have to maintain the other part.
Up to the street?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, John.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violation within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, John.
Next is 7.2 has been withdrawn. 7.3 on our agenda is case number 110-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Nancy L. McCormick at 1570 Eunice Lane for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Inspector Jensen, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Dave Jensen, Code and Compliance Inspector with the City of Clearwater. This is for 1570 Eunice, case number is 110-24. It's going to be for some overgrowth issues that we've got on the property. One violation for 31503, B5A, and B7. There's a lot of junk and debris, and as we get through the pictures, I'll point that out to you. I started with this complaint back in May. I have had contact with the owner a couple of times, however, her contact has now dropped off. She has done a little bit of work, however, just no way she's gonna get the amount of work that needs to be done taken care of on this property, as you'll see. Did post it twice just to make sure she was aware of it. My postings have been removed from the property and the green cards have been received back. This is a view of the property. This is a house on one side and a house on the other, and the house that we're referencing, this is the driveway. You can see two vehicles in the driveway. This is the property. House was located behind all the growth here. So when it first started, the sidewalk actually runs around here, and there was some overgrowth out on the sidewalk. That is some of the stuff she has taken care of. There was some garbage and just inside furniture that was out here. That this stuff has all been since taken care of, as well as some stuff up near the front door that was taken care of as well. However, the rest of the property is still very overgrown and cluttered with just junk and debris. This is a pile of cinder blocks, an old outdoor grill of some sort. I'm not really sure what that is. This is the backyard area, and I'll show you another view here in a minute. These are some galvanized fence posts and some old lumber from what looks like a picket fence or something like that. You see more cut down tree stuff. These are pieces of old fence by the looks of them, cinder block, plastic, pop totes of some sort. This is a view of the rear yard running, this is the south looking north. When the power company came through, they had to go through the neighbor's yard that was our complainant to get to this property to clear the power lines because they were not able to get through the backyard to get to their power lines to trim. These are data type cables that the power company will not mess with. You can see that they're being pulled on by the overgrowth in the yard here. Right behind this to the what would be the right of this, looking at the picture behind here, is a pool enclosure. There is a pool on the property. I don't know what condition it's in. From what I can see, it looks as if the pool enclosure is not in good repair. However, there's just no way to really tell because it's so overgrown as it stands right now. This is a different pile of block. Again, more cut wood, some chain link fence, and just other debris that's in the rear yard. This is a pile of red chimney-style brick that's mortared all together, more fence pieces. It's a closer picture of the fence pieces and the wood that was up against that tree in the rear yard. The postings as they were on the property. So I'm asking for compliance. I'm sorry to back up just a bit. Every time I've been out to the property, I have had to address with the owner the amount of mosquitoes on the property. Both times, I'll take that back, 3 times I've been out there, I've been overwhelmed by mosquitoes, both in the neighbor's rear yard trying to get some pictures and going up the driveway to the front of the residence. One of the first problems we have are buckets of water that were all over. Again, she has taken care of those. However, I have found, shed snake skins and things in the neighbor's yards. I'm back there taking pictures. So there are some issues with things on the property there. Sorry about that. Compliance can be met for overgrowth, accumulation, junk and debris, and the unintended growth by clearing the property of all dead trees, vegetation, overgrowth, junk, debris, garbage, and scrap. Asking for compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Before you make a motion, can I ask a legal question? This motion for nuisance abatement liens is quite lengthy. We got a whole bunch of these. Is there any way we can shorten this down and say we want to do an nuisance abatement lien motion and not have to go through all the words, or do we have to say all the words?
I would say all the words unless we change it, yeah.
How do we change it?
Well, I wouldn't change it yet.
No.
So we'll look at it.
Okay. I mean, it's just a long.
In other words,
He needs a bottle of water.
Do you want me to read it for you?
Remember the thing about nuisance abatement, you're going onto somebody's property.
I understand,
We want to
yeah.
make sure that all the language is correct.
Yes. Yeah, I realize we want to make everything correct. I just looked at it, and it's so lengthy, and we have so many of
We
these. I'm
used
just
to
trying
have very
to
lengthy.
streamline.
We've streamlined, we can look at it again.
Okay.
Is
I
there
would
any
ask,
other,
I asked the board to recognize, I only brought 2 cases. So.
is there any other,
Not your problem.
is there any other questions for
He's the
Inspector
only one
Jensen?
complaining.
Mr. Saltzman and Mr. Schultz is looking for ditto.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, we can't do
I
that.
like that.
No more.
I moved to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry into the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. The cost, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed. The city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next case is 7.4 on our agenda, case 111-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Maria L. Fernandez Trust at 1278 Bel Air Road for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on this case? No. Mr. Jensen, you have the floor.
Good afternoon again. Dave Jensen, Code Compliance Inspector at the City of Clearwater. This is case 111-24 at 1278 Bel Air. One violation for 3-1503-B5A for the accumulation of junk and debris. This property is a rental, and I have been in contact with the owner. We've been trying to get some things taken care of. Again, started out in May with the case. The postings and the green cards are received back. As I stated, I've spoken to the property owner. And he's been in contact with the renter. I've been in contact with the renter through a translator that works for the city directly on site and walked around the property with her. This is a corner lot. Lakeview Street is here, and then Betty Street is right over here. This is kind of a faraway view of the house, and we'll get into some closer stuff here, but you can see there's garbage across the entire property. This is back in May when we started out. We have buckets, garbage inside of them, broken lamps, boxes, chunks of cinder block, and some other things. Pieces of fan blade and some stuff that were placed out. This is the sidewalk. It dips down a few inches. Later on, a couple months later, she had placed some vinyl type flooring out there to try to raise up the sand level or the level to where they pull in and out of the property with their vehicles. This stuff is still here as of yesterday when I was out taking pictures. You can see there's an old dehumidifier, a garbage bag full of stuff in what is the side yard. This is the west end of the property on the fence line. This is kind of the north fence line here. This pile of scrap and everything else comes all the way down here to almost the front of the property. You can see garbage bag, old toys, things like that. This is a porch or a carport of some sort. This has been filled several different times. Some stuff's been taken out, different stuff's been put in there. This is from July when I was out inspecting the property, and we'll see some pictures from just recently inside there. Again, back in July, washing machine that she was tearing apart. I believe she's doing scrap work or something, because I would watch appliances show up and then pieces of those appliances still left there after the bulk of the appliance was gone. Milk crates, again, just garbage and junk all over the yard. An old fan is showing up. This pile, again, has changed a little bit, but it's just stuff getting moved around and added to the posting of the property. This is back at the beginning of this month. A wheel has shown up, more buckets, and just other garbage that wasn't there before. This is that carport again. Items have changed inside of there, but it's not gotten cleaned out.
more of the same, an old TV, more buckets, all outside there. And then this is from yesterday. She told the landlord that she's moving out. He hasn't been able to verify that. He lives over near Orlando. The person that was supposed to meet with her was there on site to check the property, make sure it was actually empty inside. She was late showing up and that person had to leave, so we don't know that for sure. But this pile here is all, looks like children's toys, stuffed animals, clothing, bedding, almost up to the top of the doorway in that carport. Again, though, there's still a lot of garbage and other stuff lying about the entire yard. Some other stuff, again, it wasn't even there, last week or the week before when I was out doing inspections. This is all brand new scrap that's been dropped off and garbage in the last week or so that was not there. Compliance can be met for the accumulation of junk and debris by clearing the property of all junk, scrap, garbage, debris, and trash. Asking for compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Board, do we have any questions for Inspector Jensen on this property?
I just have a comment. It's kind of ironic. I noticed in your picture, she has a Clearwater recycling bin there, but all this junk's in her yard.
And the property has been not cleaned up. It's, again, some stuff has been moved off at times, but it's never been completely taken care of. And it's just, constant, recycling of different things on and off the property. But again, like that large pile near that fence, that hasn't changed at all, and it just keeps growing little by little, so.
It's growing.
And again, that's the landlord's frustrated because he's talked with her as well, and see how I'll get it cleaned up, and it just never takes place.
She's moving, it's unlikely.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable costs, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next is 7.5 on our agenda, case number 126-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Najla Matok at 304 Fairmont Street for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? No. Inspector Casman, you have the floor.
All right. Good afternoon, Board. Daniel Casman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case number 126-24 for 304 Fairmont Street. There's one violation here for Code Section 3-1503B8 and B10 for overgrown right-of-way and abutted right-of-way. These are the dates and notices that I know of compliance. I haven't been able to get in contact with the owner. Tried calling the number that was in file, but nobody talks to me. I noticed it driving down Osceola one day. This is the corner, the stop sign at this property, and you'll see in other photos. There's a big, large row of sea grapes that goes along Fairmont and Osceola. The stop sign was nearly gone. I know you saw a car in front of me and nearly hit a pedestrian because they couldn't see them. And this was the adjacent sidewalk. It looks a little bit difficult to use right now. This is up front. This is the house that's buried in all of this. Tried knocking on the door, left the door hanger, and nobody got back to me. If you were on the street looking or heading southbound on Osceola, this is what you'd see on the street right away. There's a curb under all that, but the sea grapes are taking everything over. And this is what it looks like there at the corner. Stop sign. And again, just what the right of way looked like. This is the day that was posted at the property for the lot clearing case. This is just a better photo from the corner. I mean, there's a house behind there, but it's behind all that. And same issues, streets completely blocked. The sign is now even more obscured, and the sidewalk would be extremely difficult to use unless you were army crawling across it at this point. So compliance made for lot clearing by cutting back all the sea grapes so they are flush with the sidewalk and the roadway curb, and requesting compliance every 4 or 5 days from the date the board renders its order.
Board, do you have any questions for Inspector Casman? No? No.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next on our is 7.6 on our agenda, case number 127-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Carter W. Miles Trey at 1109 North Betty Lane for lot clearing and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? No. Inspector Dixon, you have the floor.
Inspector Dixon, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. It's case 127-24 for 1109 North Betty Lane. There's one violation for overgrowth and unmaintained right-of-way. Computer's not going. It was posted at the beginning of the month. Compliance date 10 days later. This is the house that sits on Betty Lane. The posting. The right-of-way is overtaken by trees and grass. And here's the property this morning. No change. So compliance can be met for lot clearing by clearing all trash, debris, and overgrowth from the property, and we're requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions for?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violation within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable costs, which will become a lien on the property. If the cost, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, 7.7 on our agenda, case number 128-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Carter W. Miles Trey at 1115 North Betty Lane for lot clearing and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met.
Next door.
There's no one here for that. Inspector Dixon, you have the floor.
Same people.
Case 128-24 for 1115 North Betty Lane. This is right next door.
I know these properties. They're right past Sunset Point, heading north.
Yeah, by Stevenson's Creek.
Yep. Yeah, I used to live right up there. I recognize these properties.
Yeah. This is basically the same violation. It's overgrown and unmaintained right-of-way. It's posted at the beginning of the month. This property sits next door to the last one. There was a renter there. I thought it was vacant, but somebody moved out earlier in the week. But they cut the left side of the front yard, but that's about it. This is at the day of posting. And this is this morning.
Believe it or not, it's looked like that numerous times over the years when I lived up there, which was about 8 years ago. It would look like that every now and then, and they would randomly cut it once a year, and that was about it.
Yeah. And it goes all the way back to the creek.
Yeah,
I'm not really
exactly.
sure how
Yeah.
deep that property
Trouble
goes.
with you showing that one, after seeing those really bad ones, that one looks great.
Well, I've got 8 more.
Oh, thanks.
Hold on.
Yeah. We get a variety.
Compliance can be met for clearing all trash, debris, and overgrowth from the property, and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, 7.8 on our agenda has been withdrawn. 7.9 on our agenda has been withdrawn. 7.10, case number 131-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents JFT Realty LLC at 1913 Coles Road for lot clearing and issue an order with a compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there no one here to speak on that? Inspector Dixon, you still have the floor.
Case 131-24 for 1913 Coles Road. One violation of overgrowth at the property. This property's changed hands a couple of times, and every owner doesn't take care of it. So this is the 3rd time this has come before you. Notice the violation was posted and mailed towards the middle of the month. Here's the day of posting. And here it is today. compliance can be met by clearing all trash, debris, and overgrowth from the property and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Greg, is anyone living there?
No.
Anybody else have any questions?
I move to enter an order for finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with all reasonable costs, which will become a lien on the property. If the costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 7.11 has been withdrawn. 7.12, case number 133-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Joseph V. Narduzzo at 1320 Overlay Street for lot clearing and issue an order with compliance deadline. Authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that.
I thought
Director
that
Dixon,
one-
you have the floor.
And I thought that was one that's withdrawn.
712?
No.
7-Eleven was.
7-Eleven?
Okay.
Okay, says withdrawn. Okay,
Okay.
black letters.
Excuse me?
Well, I know, but somebody earlier said 712
Capital
was
black
withdrawn.
letters.
7-2.
7-2 was
Was
withdrawn.
withdrawn.
I know, but
7-2
somebody
was-
said 712,
Yeah.
that's my point, whether it is or isn't.
Okay. Inspector Dixon?
Case 133-24 of 1320 Overley Street. One violation of overgrowth. It's posted around mid-month. This is a recent demo. The owner lives in Massachusetts. I have been in contact with him, but he hasn't sent anybody to mow it. This is the day of posting. And this is it today. Compliance can be met by clearing all trash, debris, and overgrowth from the property and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions for Inspector Dixon?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If the costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, 7.13 on our agenda, case number 134-2024, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Kara M. Schultz at 1372 Mary L. Road for lot clearing and issue an order with a compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Dixon.
Case 134-24 of 1372 Mary L. Road. There's one violation of lot clearing here for accumulation of trash and debris, overgrowth, and unmaintained right-of-way. Notice of violation posted in mail around the middle of the month. This is the day of posting. The grass is overgrown. There's a lot of debris and old furniture stored up by the house. The grass was cut on the 20th, but none of the debris was removed from the carport in front of the house area. And that was
There are people
today.
living there? I seen a bike
Yeah,
ramp.
there's cars that come and go, but I've never talked to
I
anybody.
seen the makeshift bike ramp with the tub and the
Yeah.
doorway or something that was
Yeah, I
there.
believe somebody lives there, but nobody's talked to me.
All right.
So the grass is taken care of, but they still need to clear all trash and debris and any other upcoming overgrowth from the property. And requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Okay, any questions from Inspector Dixon?
I move to enter order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent, it's lost my place. If the respondent, comply with the time specified, this take all reasonable actions, including the entry into property, to abate and maintain the nuisance, and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which come on the property. Thank you for that. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Shouldn't get text messages while reading.
Motion carries. Case 7.14 on our agenda, case 135-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Sheila Kilmartin at 1430 Wilson Road for lot clearing and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Dixon.
Case 135-24, 1430 Wilson Street. There's one violation here for accumulation of trash and debris and overgrowth. Those violations posted at the beginning of the month. This is the only section of yard that they didn't cut. The front and the front part of the side yard was cut, but there's also a lot of debris being stored behind the house. It's kind of hard to see from this picture, but they bring a lot of stuff to the house, and a lot of it ends up as garbage, and it's just hanging out around the property. This is the property this morning. There's a lot of debris on the side of the house, and then this fence is on the other side of the house, but you can see it better in person. There's trash and debris all throughout the back of the house. So compliance can be met for lot clearing by clearing all trash and debris and overgrowth from the property, and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. This is 7.15 on our agenda, case number 136-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Jahangir Barutan at 804 Fairmont Street for lot clearing, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Dixon.
Case 136-24 for 804 Fairmont Street. One violation for overgrowth. The property was posted at the beginning of the month. This is the day of posting. Corner lot on a circle. It's overgrown. And here it is this morning. Nothing's changed. So compliance will be made by clearing all trash, debris, and overgrowth from the property, and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions? No.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct all violations within 5 days of board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, order passes. 7.16 on our agenda has been withdrawn. 7.17, case number 138-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Arca Homes LLC at 1465 San Juan Court for lot clearing, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Dixon.
Case 138-24 for 1465 San Juan Court. One violation of overgrowth and accumulation of debris. Property is posted towards the beginning of the month. It's a vacant commercial property off of Gulf to Bay. There's debris from the palms. The bit of grass that's up front's overgrown and the backyard's overgrown. This is property today, nothing's changed. So compliance can be met by clearing all trash, debris, and overgrowth from the property, and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right, any questions for Inspector Dixon?
I move to enter order for finding respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violation within 5 days of board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with all reasonable costs which will become a lien on the property. If the cost, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, order carries. Next is 7.18 on our agenda, case number 139-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents David Abbott at 305 Pennsylvania Avenue for lot clearing, and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Dixon.
Case 139-24, 305 Pennsylvania Avenue. One violation of overgrowth and accumulation of debris. Property is posted towards the beginning of the month. It's a single-family home in Plaza Park. The grass is overgrown. And in the backyard, there's a fence halfway through the backyard, and between that fence and the rear property line, it never gets maintained. I have been in contact with the owner. It has been cleaned up before, but they're not cleaning it up now. The front yard did get cut, but the backyard didn't. And, it's kind of hard to see my date there. Here it is this morning. That back section of the backyard is still overgrown. The front's getting back to being overgrown. Compliance will be met by clearing all trash, debris, and overgrowth from the property and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions?
No. I move to enter an order finding a respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, next on our agenda is 7.19, case number 140-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Nathan Evans at 917 Eldridge Street for inoperative vehicle and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. No one here to speak on that. Inspector Dixon.
The next two cases are going to be on the same presentation, but you'll have to do 2 separate orders for lot clearing and inoperable vehicles. So here's a presentation for 140-24 for lot clearing and 141-24 for inoperable vehicles for 917 Eldridge Street. There's 2 violations here for lot clearing and inoperable vehicles. Property was posted towards the beginning of the month. This is the day of posting. There's a fenced-in yard, and it's full of all sorts of trash, debris, inoperable vehicles, you name it. And,
Is that a trailer for storing?
What's that?
Is that a trailer for storing?
Yeah, he's got a couple of trailers there.
A tree
Are
on
they
it.
supposed to be there?
If they could get them back behind the fence, we'd have to move some of the stuff out to get the trailer back.
I got
Got a tree down there.
After
tree
the
on the house.
storm, after our last storm, this tree fell into the house. At that time, I was with the unsafe inspector, because I had been in contact with this owner, but he wouldn't answer the door, and he hasn't answered any phone calls.
Tree might have got
But the backyard is just,
Is the tree part of this, or is that going to be subject to something new since it's recent?
no, it'd still be part of the nuisance. I don't know that our contractor can take care of it, but we were gonna offer some assistance from the city in the form of a grant to help take care of the tree at least, but we haven't been in contact with him since.
Yeah. Has there been anybody to look at the structural damage, if it's safe to live in?
No, because we would have to trespass to go onto the property.
Inspector, I gotta thank you for doing this, because, I mean, these, so many houses really takes down the city. I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does, yeah.
Here's some vehicles that are in the backyard that have been there for some time.
No rear window.
Now, this is this week. The tree's not there, and a lot of the stuff is still there, but he has started clearing it out. He's got like a skid steer there. He's been pulling stuff out, and I see different things in trailers, but I never see them working. So I don't know when they're doing this, but they are working on it, but who knows if they'll stop or not.
Was the top of the wall missing where the A-frame comes together up there?
There was a
Right
fire
between-
back there.
Oh, okay. That's what
Good Lord. This place is a
Lovely
Wow.
place.
Man,
I'm surprised it's inhabitable.
disaster zone.
I'm surprised it didn't burn down adjacent property.
Yeah.
It'd be the best thing that happened to it.
Yep.
Work is happening, but there's still a lot to do.
The neighbors will be happy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the neighbors can't
So compliance will be met for the lot clearing by clearing all trash and debris and overgrowth of the property, and compliance will be met for the inoperable vehicles by, they can either remove the vehicles from the property, or any vehicle that remains at the property must be roadworthy, have inflated tires, and have a current license plate and registration, or store a vehicle in the garage if possible. And requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions?
I move to enter order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Before we second that, I'm just curious, is these, we have two separate cases, but they've been presented as
So
one.
we get to read this twice.
Yeah.
We're doing this twice?
Doing it
Okay.
twice.
Thank you very much.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, first motion carries.
I move to enter order finding the respondent in violation of the code, requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with all reasonable costs which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Wow, that was fun. That was a marathon.
Yeah, I was about ready to charge Inspector Dixon rent up there. This is 7.21 on our agenda, case number 142-24. Accept the nuisance abatement, blah, blah, blah. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Daniel Nunez Venagas at 111 South Corona Avenue for inoperative vehicle, and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Stevens, you have the floor.
Good afternoon again, Board. John Stevens, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. Again, this is case number 142-24, reference 111 South Corona Avenue for nuisance abatement. We have one violation here for 3-1503B6, storage of an inoperative vehicle. Notice of violation was mailed and posted on July 18th of this year with a compliance date of July 28th. The certified mail receipt, you can see it's 7/29. We didn't get those back. In dealing with this gentleman before, the property appraiser where we have to send our, legal notices to says that he supposedly lives up in Hudson. But every time I've sent letters up there, it comes back saying that that's not a good address. So I sent both certified letters to the address on property appraiser and to the house. And as you can see in the picture there, I posted it on the front windshield of the car as well about the violation. So that was on the date of the initial violation on July 18th. You can see here the bumper was off of it. Looks like they've shoved it in the passenger window, just leaving it down to let water and whatever else collect in there. And there is an expired Florida temporary tag. It looks like it expired probably almost 4 years ago now. I've not had any contact with this gentleman outside of some other cases that I've had with him that, we didn't get much resolve on. But here we are again with another issue that we're working with. This was on August 23rd after the compliance date. The vehicle's still there and in the same condition. And then here is this morning, still there and in the same condition. And again, he hasn't bothered to reach out to me in any way, shape, or form. And he can come to compliance by displaying a legal license plate on the vehicle for that vehicle, maintaining it both mechanically and legally, or he can remove it from the property or store it, in the garage if he has one. And we are requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right, any questions?
I move to enter order finding the respondent in violation of the code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. All right,
Board.
next is 7.22 on our agenda, case number 143-24. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Adnana Hussein and Monica Salam at 1160 Grove Street for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline, and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Stevens, you have the floor.
Again, John Stevens, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater, case number 143-24 regarding 1160 Grove Street for nuisance abatement. We have one violation here of 3-1503B7 and B8 for, again, lot clearing, overgrowth, and unmaintained right-of-way. Notice of violation was mailed and posted on August 13th with a compliance date of August 22nd. Certified mail and checking, because I didn't get the green card back, but I checked the USPS tracking site, and it shows as of August 25th that it was still in transit somewhere. But again, as you can see in my picture there of the nice green posting in the front yard for whoever is renting there. That was on the day of initial violation on August 13th with the overgrowth. And you see I've got an orange cone out there. It's a 12-inch cone showing you the height of the grass. And then this was on August 23rd after the compliance date. Posting still there. And then again today, as this morning, you can see that nothing has changed. Obviously didn't come to compliance by cutting the grass, including the curb line and sidewalk, and continue to maintain it. And we are requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right, any questions? No?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry into the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become lien on the property. If the costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. All right, 7.24, or 7.23 on our agenda, accept the nuisance abatement for lien for 1271 Franklin Street Land Trust at 1271 Franklin Street for lot clearing and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here for that? No. Inspector Stevens?
Again, John Stevens, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater, case number 14424, reference 1271 Franklin Street for nuisance abatement. Again, this is another lot clearing case, violations of Code Section 3-1503B7 and B8, overgrowth and unmaintained right-of-way. This is the date that the notice of violation was both mailed and posted on August 15th, compliance date of August 24th. And the certified mail, I never got the green card back, so when I looked up the USPS tracking site, it says that it was actually dropped off to a person at the property on August 22nd that was listed for property appraisal. This was how the property looked that day. You can see the grass is encroaching on the sidewalk pretty well, and it's also coming out into the street. And right now, it's roughly about 2 feet high, give or take. I actually had contact with the property owner prior to this because I had posted this probably about a month and a half ago. And the property owner contacted me, so they took this very, very seriously, and that they had a tenant there, that they were going to get a lawnmower because they were supposed to maintain the property and they would get it taken care of. Well, about a week and a half later, magically it did get taken care of. It got cut, but as you can see, they kind of pulled out my posting and then just threw it in the yard after they cut the grass. And fast forward now, you know, that's still where it laid on August 15th, which was, you know, the compliance date. And this was on August 25th, no change. And today, still no change as of this morning. So compliance can be met by cutting the grass to include the curb line and sidewalk and continue to maintain it. And we're requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If the cost, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
2 more to go.
All right, 7.24 on our agenda, case number 145-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Cleveland Street East LLC at 1242 Cleveland Street for lot clearing and issue an order with compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. There's no one here to speak on that. Inspector Stevens?
Board, John Stevens, Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is case number 145-24, reference 1242 Cleveland Street for a nuisance abatement. This one's overgrowth and some debris on the property, so violations of 3-1503B7, B8, and B5A. This was posted and mailed on July 30th with a compliance date of August the 8th. And certified mail was signed for on August the 5th. As you can see, I put my posting there on the front door of the building on July 30th. And you can see some of the overgrown grass there at that point. Here's some other pictures from that day showing the overgrown grass as well. Some more grown there that has not been taken care of. This business used to be open, but it closed back in April and apparently was bought by another LLC. And since that time frame, it's just kind of started going downhill. This was also from that initial date. You can see the old broken dog kennel there, some type of table and some other loose debris laying about the property. This was actually after the compliance date. You had a little bit more debris show up, as you can see.
They got some homeless back in there or something.
And then this was as today. You can see the grass still hasn't been cut. But some of the debris has disappeared, so I don't know, since they signed for the green card, if they're slowly starting to work on it, and they took it, or somebody else took it, but no one has bothered to reach out to me whatsoever. So obviously compliance can be met for this by cutting the grass to include the curb line, removing the excess brush from the grass, weeds, cutting as well all the loose trash debris, such as a broken dog kennel, table, and other items. And again, we are requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Any questions?
Just a brief comment. I kind of heard third hand that that property and the one next door where the Mexican restaurant and I think whatever, all of that was purchased by one company and they're going to knock it all down and build multifamily there. That having been said, I mean, just as a point of interest, that having been said, that's no excuse for it being in condition.
Actually, it's two different LLCs that own that
Is that
one,
right?
because at the same time that I got the complaint on that one, there was a complaint on that strip mall next door, and it's actually two different LLCs. Now, maybe they're owned by a parent somewhere, but property appraiser, it's two different listings, and they came into compliance, this one did.
Interesting.
So-
Okay. Thanks.
I move to enter order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable costs which become a lien on the property. If the costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And the last one.
Passes. 7.25 on our agenda, case 146-24, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Ronald and Shelley McDonald at 210 Palm Island for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline, authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Inspector Cashman, you have the floor.
Looks like this one might have not made it on. Could have been a computer issue. Ah,
Yay.
how about that? Almost got away with it.
Okay. Still might get away with it.
Looks like it might have been corrupted.
Uh-oh.
I'm not leaving.
We could continue it, see if he'll cut it.
That's your call. Can you pen?
Oh, no, I don't print the picture, but we can pull them up from
Oh, that's right.
the SharePoint.
There's always a place for them.
Come on, we're on edge.
There's always a will,
Waiting
there's a
for the
way.
excitement.
What do you want to do?
Apparently not.
Want to do packet or the photos? We won't have photos for today, though. Yeah, it's the same.
I mean, you can testify before the board to your sworn testimony. They
And
can
we'll believe
decide
you.
whether they believe you or not.
We'll believe you.
Speak for yourself.
I apologize to round out the meeting this way.
That's all right.
Hey, hey, you got it.
We've seen you before.
That's the worst thing that happens to us today. We're all right.
Well, it looks like the photos came up, and I have two from just 2 days ago, but we'll go through them from the beginning. So might as well look at a further away view. It's 210 Palm Island Southwest. I've been in contact with this owner before about hauling trailer issues at this property. I've been trying to call him about this grass cutting issue, but I just can't get a hold of him. He's got an active permit to repair the garage too, but no work's been completed yet. This is a better look at that area. He's got a kind of a right grassy area and a left grassy area. He cuts the right side, but this whole area just does not maintain for some reason. I have no idea what's going on at the property. Posted it, he hasn't gotten in contact with me. I'll try to get a closer view of that posting. I mean, that was on the 14th, was posted with 5 days for 8/19 to come to compliance, and as of the 26th, it wasn't in compliance, and as of today, it's still not in compliance. So for them to come to compliance, I just need them to cut the grass in the property, maintain that one area to the left of the home. Try to get this right way up.
Thank you for that.
Otherwise, I request compliance 5 days from the date the board's written order to come and plans for mowing the lawn.
I appreciate it.
Any questions for Inspector Cashman?
I move to enter order finding the respondent in violation of code, requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance, and charge the respondent with reasonable costs which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. If there is nothing else before this board, we will be adjourned. Thank you.
You've got a lot of paperwork.